In this video, we're going to use something called summation notation. And summation notation is used for sums. And we use a symbol in summation notation, which is the Greek letter sigma, because S stands for sum. And the Greek letter sigma looks like this, kind of like an E, but with sort of a triangle point in the middle. And on the sigma, we have two numbers, one underneath and one on top. And these two numbers tell us the range of numbers that we're plugging into the formula. So if it's 1 through n, we're plugging in all numbers from 1 through whatever number n is. So the number on the bottom tells us the first number to plug in, and the number on the top tells us the last number to plug in. Then we're going to have some kind of formula to plug into. And what we're going to do is we're going to plug in every number from the bottom number to the top number. So in this case from 1 to n. And then we're going to add all of the results together. So our answer when we're using summation notation is going to be a single number, the result of adding all of the terms together. So we're going to plug in all numbers, all whole numbers, from 1 through n, or we could start at a number other than 1 if there's a different number written underneath the sigma. Then we're going to add all numbers together. So we're going to look at example 3, which has a few different parts. So we're going to do a few different sums here. It says to expand and evaluate the sum. Part A is going from 1 to 6. So I see the 1 on the bottom of the sigma and the 6 on the top. That tells me I'm going to plug in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then the formula is I squared plus 1. So I'm going to plug these in for I. So I'm going to start with plugging in 1. 1 squared plus 1. 1 squared is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Next, I'm going to plug in 2. So plugging into the formula, I squared plus 1 is 2 squared plus 1, which is 4 plus 1, which is 5. Next, I'm going to plug in 3. 9 plus 1 is 10. Next, I'm going to plug in 4. 16 plus 1 is 17. Need to plug in 5. 25 plus 1 is 26. And lastly, I'm going to plug in 6. So I'm plugging in, again, every whole number from 1 through 6. 36 plus 1 is 37. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is add all of those numbers together. So 2 plus 5 plus 10 plus 17 plus 26 plus 37. Use a calculator if you need to. But when I add all those together, I get 97. So 97 would be my answer for the sum. Part B. This one is only going from 4 to 7. So I'm going to start with 4 and plug in 4, 5, 6, and 7 instead of starting with 1. And then the formula here is negative 2 to the k minus 5. So we're going to plug in 4, negative 2 to the 4 minus 5. Use a calculator if you're not very good at doing these exponents in your head. This will be positive 16. Remember to put parentheses around the negative 2, minus 5, which is 11. We're going to plug in 5. Negative 2 to the 5th is negative 32, minus 5, which is negative 37. We're going to plug in 6. And we see the same pattern that we saw earlier, where if I have a negative number raised to a power, it's going to alternate from positive to negative signs. So negative 2 to the 6 is positive 64, minus 5 is positive 59. And then the last number that I'm plugging in is 7. So this is going to be negative 128. Again, use a calculator if you can't do these exponents in your head. That's totally fine. Negative 128 minus 5 is negative 133. So I'm adding 11 plus negative 37, or 11 minus 37, plus 59 minus 133. If I add all those together, I should get exactly negative 100. Use your calculator, again, if you want to for this. So that's the answer for part B. Part C is a little bit strange because if I look at this, the formula is just 3. So there's no variable in the formula. So what that means is that there's nothing to plug, there's no variable to plug in for. So I'm going from 1 through 5, plugging in, no place to plug in, so the answer is just 3. So when I plug in 1, I get 3. When I plug in 2, I get 3. When I plug in 3, I get 3. When I plug in 4, I get 3. And guess what? When I plug in 5, I get 3. So the answer is just always 3 because the variable doesn't do anything here. So that's what I get. I'm plugging in 1 through 5. So I end up with 5 3s. Add those together, and the sum is 15. So that would be my answer. So next you should look at checkpoint problem number 3. Do these in your notes, check your answer in the notes that are posted, and then move on to the homework.